Hello, everybody. This is Bart Sharp, and you are on Becoming Quantum Conscious on United Public Radio and UFO Paranormal Radio at 107.7 and 105.3, broadcasting out of the beautiful city of New Orleans, Louisiana. And we are also on cable television, Roku, Facebook, YouTube, X, and other internet platforms, including the UPRN website itself, all around the world, everywhere. And we are everywhere. And I am still in Quillon, France. Of course, if you know me, you know that I live in Austin, Texas, and I'm living 6 months in France, doing tours, going to power spots, seeing lots of UFOs. In fact, we had the record number of UFO sightings if we would have counted them and recorded them. Of course, we never did that, but we were seeing at least one per minute at the peak de Bugarash a few weeks ago when the planetary alignment was happening. They seem to come out in numbers when there's something significant happening like that. Energy's big, whatever. But it's always lovely being in France, except there's no air conditioning. And we're all living in fans and got up to 95 today. So it is a big wow for everybody. Hi, Julie. Glad you're here. And I'm doing the show by myself. I do this sometimes. I really enjoy it. And I'm talking about some of my favorite topics, depression, sadness, and hopelessness. Really juicy stuff. And mainly why is because I do shamanic work. And this is often what I jump into is working on those topics. And then usually if you're having depression or sadness, you have a relationship with anger. And that's just kind of how it is. Anger and sadness often work in duality. And so we're going to really be exploring a lot of those. But most importantly, we will be doing energetic clearings on all of this stuff today. And that's the cool thing about it is the energetic clearings will work on you. I use this tool called Access Consciousness. You may have heard of it, but it clears thoughts and beliefs and emotions on a cellular energetic level. It uses a clearing statement, and I'll be doing this throughout this 55 minutes, which is right, wrong, good, bad, POC, pod, all nine, shorts, boys, and beyonds. Basically, it clears whatever we bring up as a topic out of your body, in your etheric fields, in your brain, but mostly in your body, because that's where you hold things like anger and sadness and stuff like that is in your body. And that's what I focus on, is working with that type of stuff. It's energetic work. And you may think, well, what does energetic work of repressed anger and sadness and depression have to do with becoming quantum conscious? Well, the answer is quite easy. The more that you are hanging, the more that you let go of your repressed emotions, your stuff that's limiting you, your traumas, sadness, shame, fear, anger, your body becomes lighter, energetically speaking. And then when your body becomes lighter, you're able to feel things you never felt before. And so releasing anger and all of these other emotions to me is paramount. It's like in the ABCs of getting it done to be a more conscious, more loving person. In fact, the more you release anger, sadness, shame, fear, love starts to feel differently than you ever known it before. I'm talking like Mr. Rogers, I know, but it's very true. It just happens, and your psychic abilities happen. Of course, for me, going to France and living in France and living in these high vibrational places enhance it greatly. However, I could not sense and feel and bring myself into the high vibrational states that the sacred sites provide if I hadn't cleared out tons of anger and shame and sadness and fear. Because the space is open to receive something in my body that is expansive. And you don't have to go to a sacred site to do all of this. You could just be a loving person in, uh, I keep thinking that you know, Idaho or someplace. Uh, I was trying to think of a real cute small town, but they just wouldn't come out. Mineral Wells, Texas. Yes, you could be a loving person in Mineral Wells, Texas, hometown of my older brother, and and just serve your community in a good way and have all of that love in your heart. But when you let go of all of these negative emotions in your body, your power increases. It is amazing, and that's the really good stuff. So as I go through this, if there's things that you want to release and work on, bring it up, put it on the chat. It could be just like, I'm really, you know, mad at my mom, or something that basic, or it could be something really specific, and we'll field it. I'm going to be doing these energetic clearings, and it's just going to clear on you throughout this 55 minutes. You could also go back to YouTube on my YouTube channel and listen to it again, and it'll even clear more from that. It does it again and again. You can listen to this show 25 times, and each time it will clear limitations. It's really good stuff, this Access Consciousness. I'm very grateful for Gary Douglas, who created it, and I was an Access facilitator 15 to 20 years ago. Uh, I've just been on my own a little bit rogue for the last 15 years with it. However, what I have learned with emotions, and Access was one of the good teachers of this, is you feel it in your body. You get this sensation of where it is. When you think about something that you're angry about, or you're sad, or fearful of. And you can use an energetic clearing like the Access tool. Also, you could just use Reiki. You could just bring in, a vibration of Reiki where you feel that vibration of a repressed emotion, and you'll change it. I did a lot of sadness work from my heart, because I was I was with a woman that broke up with me, and I was terribly sad, and I just was gonna go through my little 2 months of hell grieving her, and I just really didn't want to do it. It's like, this is no fun. So I said, okay, every time I think of her or some sad, depressed thought about that relationship, I knew it didn't have actual meaning. Like this was old stuff, old memories, but the new face of this broke up girlfriend was what was showing up. But it was all this repressed stuff that I hadn't worked out in my body. So every time I thought something sad, negative, depressing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, I would just stop, sit down if possible, and feel it. Feel where it was. And generally it was in my gut. And I would just feel that. It's almost like that stuff in my gut, or whatever place, would suddenly go up into my brain, mostly in my primal brain, and start negative thoughts, because that's how the body works. The things in the gut get stimulated by something, and it goes up your dural tube, or your spine, into your primal brain, and starts that reactionary process that negative thoughts that come out of nowhere are stimulated from. So I was just really tired of those negative thoughts. So every time I would feel that thought, I'd sit down, I'd feel that energy of that disgust in my body, wherever it felt or it's dense, or something, or stressful, or heavy, whatever the sensation was. That was where the thought was originating in my body. So I would just open up my heart, almost like it was a light, you know, because I do a lot of heart work and just creating a vibration in my heart that is a pure light. And I just send that light down to that place that was in distress. And I'd keep sending it until the stress went away. And I noticed that my negative thought was gone and it didn't come back. In other words, I cleared it. I cleared the body memory and therefore it just moved out. It was gone. I did that for a few weeks and found myself no longer depressed, no longer sad. I mean, yeah, I was bummed out that we'd broken up. I thought she was a great person. However, I just wasn't in that jail, so to speak, or chained to my own thoughts that I just could not defeat or get rid of. You know, sometimes we're our own worst enemies. And that's just one technique to just get rid of it. Um, so, this show is about depression, sadness, and hopelessness. And when we really think of depression, the first thing that anybody that's in the psychological field would say depression is anger turned inwards. And how right they are, that that is what we do. And to take that a little bit more in complexity, most people who have anger turned inwards, this started, at a very young age. And we became more the passive participants of our own expression. In other words, we didn't get to say no or express dissatisfaction, or when we got angry, generally it wasn't allowed. There are other people that might be really angry in the family. It's most likely if you're depressed, you weren't one of those people. There's a real division in families of those who can express anger and those who cannot. And somehow these lines have been drawn. We fit in one role or the other. And what I've seen in family dynamics, it's almost a 50-50 split. Those who express, those who cannot express, those who have power, those who are passive with their power. And generally speaking, my bet is, and of course, I'm no therapist, I'm a shaman. I get this all energetically. I'm not doing this from research. I am not licensed to do this. This is all from practical experience of working energetically with people for, uh, you know, 15 to 20 years. I've done this without a license. And so let's just make that clear. I'm not a professional at that level, but I am an amazing, badass shaman. So thinking of just that anger of that place that we hold it. Um, a lot of times we hold it on the right side of our body to begin with. We would be holding it, no, the left side of our body, excuse me. We would be holding it on our feminine side. And as a child, we are functioning mostly from our feminine side instead of our masculine side, which would be on the right side. Um, and the masculine side takes action to resolve what we've not, been able to resolve on the feminine side as a child. So, you know, the question really is like, what did you become passive with as a child in your feminine side that got changed over into the masculine as a strategy to try to resolve it? That's the kind of the energetic dynamics of what all of that is. So let's go into this. I think I'm talking too much and not clearing enough. It's inevitable that I'm going to talk because it's a radio show. However, I'm not doing any clearings. So everything that you have found that anger is wrong, bad, limited, and you have no right to use it. Everything in your life that you've aligned and agreed with that, yes, I shouldn't use it. I don't do anger well. It's bad and wrong. And everything that you've resisted and reacted to that point and aligned and agreed with it, would you be willing to let that go? Right, wrong, good, bad, pot, all nine shorts, boys, and beyonds. Now that's the access clearing statement I use. Right, wrong, good, bad, pot, all nine shorts, boys, and beyonds. You can go on my website, bartsharp.com, and check it out. I have it all written out there in details on my website. What does the clearing statement mean? It's somewhere on that page if you're so inclined to understand it. However, it basically means everything that we've judged something, because when we judge it, it gets stuck in our body. It's just like, how many judgments do you have that when your father is angry at you or your mother is angry at you, bad things are going to happen to you. You're going to get hurt in some way. So all the judgments of that, would you be willing to let that go? Right, wrong, good, bad, pot, all nine shorts, boys, and beyonds. And all the tension that you hold in your body, like, I can't do this. I'm helpless. I don't have a strategy to deal with angry people. Mainly it's with probably one parent that has happened if you're dealing with depression uh, or shame, passivity. This is not a real, it's not a simple process. It's very complex, and everybody's experience is different. And we're trying to do something very general. So it's a little tricky. So everything that you feel that tension in your body, how many ways, means, methods, form, structure, significances that it's held there, like almost like hundreds to thousands of tension points that when somebody gets mad, you go get stuck. You can't react. You don't know what to say. A part of you shrinks. Um, you become passive. You become the caretaker. You get a big smile on your face and say, "Oh, nothing's wrong." Anything but to look at anger and right eye and go, "You're angry at me, right? What's up? Why are you angry for?" It's like, no, a little child doesn't say that to a parent. Instead, so many children are taught to freak out. So everything that just brings up, would you be willing to let it go? Right, wrong, good, bad, pot, all nine shorts, boys, and beyonds. Hey, Carrie, how you doing? Good to see you. Working on depression, sadness, anger, and hopelessness. Such a cheery topic today, and so glad you're here. So anybody that has anything, oh yes, we're talking about you. Well, anything you want to bring in and throw into barrel, we can work on clearing it, because that's what this is. And these clearings are going to work on and on and on. As you go back to my YouTube page and listen to this, and you can listen to it like in the background, like while you're washing the dishes or something. Um, you know, it works like that as well. So everything that you really said, that it's right to have anger, that only the strong have anger, and things get done when you get angry. And that's the other side of the fence. How many beliefs do you have that? And you may not be the person that gets strong and like you know, goes out and kicks butt. You may be the person that's passive, but there's this belief that the strong people know how to wield anger. I mean, that's what my father said. It's just like, yeah, I talked to him. I kicked his butt. He'll never do that again. Of course, the child always does it again. And that's another theory. I'll go back to it again. But everything that you've made these judgments that you're weak because you're not the strong one that goes out and is aggressive and controlling with anger. Uh, would you be willing to let that go? all the judgments you made about yourself that you're weak because you're not that person that pow goes out there and whacks them in the jaw. All of what that is, will you please let it go? Right, wrong, good, bad, pod, all nine shorts, boys, and beyonds. So everything that you're holding in your gut, because that's a lot of places where we hold anger. When I do anger work, the most consistent place I see it showing up in people is on the right side of their lower intestine. It's almost like that's the place where we hold a lot of anger. So everything that we brought up so far, all that you're holding there in that place, would you let it go? Right, wrong, good, bad, pod, all nine shorts, boys, and beyonds. Whew, we're going to be doing that clearing statement a lot. We're not even halfway through the show, and we're just starting to warm up. So, um, one of the things with depression that makes people depressed, and I kind of said this earlier, but I want to repeat it, is their inability to say no, express dissatisfaction, or express anger. And this is like, if you think about this in a concept, that is on the feminine side of this of the body. This would be the child. Like the child is more in a feminine state of beingness between 2 and 6, 2 and 5, something like that. Somewhere they start to get more masculine for a wide variety of reasons. But when they're in that, that wonderful child state, which they would be kind of dominated with their parasympathetic nervous system, they would be calm and quiet. Uh, that body is happy, it's joyful, it's loving. And a lot of that gets diminished when the kids don't get to say, no, I don't want to do that. No, I'm not happy with that. Mom, dad, that really doesn't work for me. You know, will you be better parents? Of course, the child is never going to say any of that, but in somewhere in their world, it's happening, if they're dissatisfied. And somewhere in their world, they've been taught you're not supposed to express dissatisfaction. So everything that just brings up with you, that you're not supposed to express it, that you're supposed to hold it back. Um, and everything that you hold into your spleen with that. The spleen is where we hold a lot of sadness, by the way, and we hold a lot of anger. That would be on the feminine side. All of what's stimulated with you that I don't get to speak up, I got to hold it back. All the force and energy that you hold that back with, would you be willing to let it go? Right, wrong, good, bad, pod, all nine shorts, boys, and beyonds. Yeah, it's really good. And Carrie says, mine moves from predominantly theta and alpha into more beta logical masculine as the child ages. Yes, so true. That's a very cool way you say it. Uh, Predominantly theta to alpha and into beta, more into the logic. So everything that we have to figure this out, that we had to find an appropriate strategy to be appropriate, to have the right answer, have the right plan, be successful. You know, who are we proving that to? Who are we showing to mother or father that I did do things right? I do deserve your approval. And that's a lot of it. A lot of times we've just got that person that we're just looking at like, yeah, I just like to make him happy or her happy. So all your judgments that you have and projections that you're working for somebody else instead of in your own wonderment about what you would love in life. Um, and how many lifetimes have you done that? Um, that's kind of big. It's funny because I'm doing this stuff, and of course, we have people all over the world listening right now. but God, the energy's building. So all of what that brings up, would you be willing to destroy and uncreate it all, totally and utterly? Right, wrong, good, bad, pot, all nine shorts, points, and beyonds. You know, a big part about that getting intellectual is how much are you really heard? How much do you have power in your own voice? So therefore, you try to outsmart people. You know, when we think of a child in their natural state, they're kind of like a small being of light. They're loving, they're kind, they're in this relaxed state. They're in a higher state of being, actually. But when they start to go, nope, I got to work, I got to get a plan, I got to be efficient, and that will get me approval. How much do you forget about you in that process? How much does the feminine side, the child side, totally get ignored and put away? And how much sadness is connected to that? And how much is held in your spleen? How much is held in your gut? Um, and all the force and energy you use to hold that in place, would you be willing to destroy and uncreate all of it totally and utterly? Right, wrong, good, bad, pot, on nine shorts, boys and beyonds. So you might get sleepy or yawning or something like that during this hour, and that's quite normal because what's happening is you're releasing all of these energies, and they're coming out of the top of your head, and your brain is trying to adjust to the changes. Therefore, it's taking in more air through yawning. Perfectly normal thing to do. So when you see me yawn and my eyes flicker and stuff like that, it's just the energy. It's just how it works for me. Everybody's different with that. So going back to that disempowered state, what is the core emotion with that? You know, when we talk about anger, that's kind of like a fourth emotion. There's three emotions that are more core in the emotional realm. And basically, we have five basic emotions. I actually got this from a therapist I did therapy with. Uh, so I'll start with emotion number one. That would be fear. Emotion number two, sadness. Emotion number three, shame. And those three are the three core emotions. Everything stems from one of those emotions. You know, one isn't more significant than the other. It's more like those are where the direction you came from. And everybody has a core emotion. And you may have a more particular emotion for certain situations. The fourth emotion is anger. And it's kind of like a reaction to the first three, or one of the first three. And they often work in a duality together. The fifth emotion is arousal. And arousal can be a lot of things. Arousal can be love, it can be happiness, it can be play, it can be, you know, anything that you do to make yourself feel better. It is that. And so a lot of times people, and it's also be about caretaking, like people that feels like, oh, that makes me so good that I took care of you. Well, they may be doing that and getting the stimulation of caring, but they may also be avoiding their own shame that they don't feel good about themselves. You know, so how many dualities are there? I love playing with my fingers on this, with that duality. So everything that is, that's your duality, that you make yourself feel better by taking care of others so you avoid the shame. Would you be willing to let that go? Right, wrong, good, bad, pot, all nine shorts, boys, and beyonds. So that's a lot with caretakers that are really compulsive with it, is they're looking for that high. And the funny thing about this is that there's nothing wrong with the strategy that you have unconsciously chosen. It just moves that way, you know. Uh, it's like Carrie's comment that her beta or her logic masculine kind of takes charge as a male. It was probably the smartest thing that she could do at that time. And everything you've made judgments about yourself, that smart intellectual side has something missing because I'm missing maybe the emotions or the love or my intuitive side, or there's a lot of things that can be judged there. Everything that brings up, and everything that you've aligned and agreed with those points of view, or resisted or reacted to it, would you be willing to give them up? Right, wrong, good, bad, pod, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. And so it's like midpoint in the show. So I want to tell everybody that you are on Becoming Quantum Conscious, and I am Bart Sharp, and this show is about depression, sadness, and hopelessness. Such a perky topic, but this is what I do, is do shamanic work, and I just felt like doing a shamanic show this week. So here I am on the United Public Radio Network and UFO Paranormal Radio Network on 107.7 and 105.3 out of New Orleans, Louisiana. Also on Roku, X, Facebook, YouTube, UPRN website, and more internet platforms all around the world. And we are really talking a lot about sadness, depression, hopelessness, and anger. And I really find sadness really intriguing. I have a lot of clients that work with sadness, and they're very successful people. They are major movers and shakers in the world. Get a lot of things done. But when you talk about sadness and that sad place that they go in, and a lot of times they just like, when they hit them and they'll just squinch and crunch, and not want to do anything. And then they kind of go through that cycle and they come out like charging, They use anger or fear to move them out of this low spot of sadness. And it's almost like a triangle where you have sadness, fear, and anger just doing a constant triangle, and people are in the cycle. Now, that would be a characteristic that they would hold on their masculine side in their liver. And for people with sadness as a child, this happens a lot. And the funny thing about sadness is you still have power, you still believe you deserve power, and you still believe you can have success in life, but you always want to avoid that low spot. And the first part of this that I want everybody to realize, thanks Julie, is low spots and sadness are natural. They're a natural phenomenon. Everybody, it doesn't matter if sadness is your big issue or not, you're always going to have low spots in your life because it's a biological rhythm. And, and sometimes in life, it goes beyond biological rhythms, like a breakup or a loss of loved ones, and we go into a long low spot. And this is my interesting point of view with this, because this is a personal opinion, is you should be an allowance of that low spot. It's just like a lot of cultures believe that when you're grieving a death, you wear black for a certain time, or you cut your hair, and when your hair goes back, then you are permitted to no longer grieve and you move on. But there's a complete allowance of that low spot, however long it is. And what I find is that I'm in the low spot. It's a time to generate and to create. It's a time to let things percolate inside of me, almost like you're planting seeds for something. And you may be thinking about those things you would like to create. And there's going to come a time where all of a sudden you have the energy back again and you go, let's take action. Scene 1. Bart writes chapter 1, and off you go, But it's that natural thing. And everything that you've had judgments, that is such a wrong thing. That is so wrong to be in that sad place. And all of those judgments towards that, would you be willing to let that go? Right, wrong, good, bad, pot, pod, all nine, shorts, boys, and beyonds. And it's just an interesting thing. A lot of people use a sadness anger duality. In other words, they're avoiding the sadness and they're pushing forward with the anger as a way to get things done. And then they judge themselves for being angry, and it's not a pleasant experience to have anger as your motivating force. Like, I'm going to show them, I'm going to get that project done. So everything that you're proving your accomplishments with that anger to somebody in the world, it might be your father, a teacher, an old sweetheart, whatever. Just think about who those people are and everything you've created that them in that relationship with that, and you've just stacked piles and piles of anger on that. And all the force and energy you use, because it's like a judgment. It's like a judgment, like, I got this energy and I'm going to punch through this, that system. And just think of those core people that you keep trying to prove yourself to. Would you be willing to let that relationship go in that context? Right, wrong, good, bad, pot, pot, all nine shorts, boys, and beyonds. I wrote a 500-page fictional novel because I was mad at one of my spiritual teachers. That was a bit extreme. I was going to show him that I could do something really cool, not really accepting that I already am really cool. So all the judgment that just brought up with you, would you be willing to let that go? Right, wrong, good, bad, pot, pod, all nine, shorts, boys, and beyonds. So this is more personal experience of working with various people. One of the things I see of why people are angry, and this is like one of the childhood reasons. Um, Thank you, Phyllis. Thank you. One of the childhood reasons is we do not get to be the person that we would like to be. In other words, they want us to be a lawyer, or they want us to be the family hero, and they want us to stay home at 6 years old and study, homework instead of going out and playing and being irresponsible or something like that. So, what role have you taken on that you feel unhappy about? Like, I'm daddy's little girl. I'm going to win his heart. I'm going to make him proud of me. I am the victor. You know, what duality is there for you? And just think about what that is with you. It's kind of like you push forward with an anger or fear, which is an active emotion, and sadness is a passive emotion. It doesn't move at all. It's just stuck. And it needs something to move it out or to move you away from it. you know so everything that you use, anger, or sometimes it's fear, um, and just think about what that is for you. It's like, how do you use anger to get things done, particularly as a little kid, because that's where you set the pattern. That's where you started that whole sequence. All of what that is, and everything that you've aligned and agreed with and resisted and reacted to, will you please destroy and create all of that totally and utterly? Right, wrong, good, bad, pot, pot, all nine shorts, boys, and beyonds. And I'm yawning, so that must have been really good. And whoever's listening out there, just keep focused on your body and how this feels when I bring up these questions. I'm trying to trigger you. I'm trying to get these childhood memories to come up, and just let them come up. just think of those thoughts like, oh, I'm really mad at my brother. He was the one who pushed me, and I just became more aggressive. And man, that was no fun at all. Something like that. We have these adversaries that we work against. And one of the best ways you can let a lot of that energetic, limiting emotional weight go is by doing energetic clearings. So, everything about this sadness that you feel like you're stuck in that role, that you're stuck in being the good girl or being the hero, or I have to make somebody else proud before I feel good about myself, or I just got to make somebody else proud and I just get to eat a shit sandwich instead. I get to stay in my sadness, and it's lonely there. Real. Lonely really sparks for a lot of people. So everything that brings up, that everything that you've aligned and agreed with and resisted and reacted to it, will you please destroy, create all of that totally and utterly. Right, wrong, good, bad, pot on name, short, points, and beyonds. Let's do a bigger range clearing, because, that's the beauty of this show is like, people are listening all over the place. And so that means they're connected to all different types of people because we're connected to thousands and thousands of people energetically all the time. So everything that you are creating in your life for somebody else and you're sad about it, we'd like that consciousness to go out all over the world. And you, as representatives of all the people that you're connected to, would you like to send out this message to them and everybody else that you'd like to claim, own, and acknowledge? You do not have to work for anybody else emotionally. You don't have to work for anybody else to make them feel better about you. You don't have to sacrifice your feelings or yourself or do things for other people because that's how you make yourself feel better, is by making them happy. So would you be willing to let those concepts go? Right, wrong, good, bad, pot, all nine, shorts, boys, and beyonds. One of the biggest problems in the world is, and I believe in service. Don't get me wrong. I believe in service big time. I serve a lot of things. I help a lot of people. And at the same time, my own soul's growth and my own heart's happiness is my number one priority. Because when that is pure and happy and whole, then I give that wholeness to the world. And that serves the world more than me sacrificing my feelings so somebody else will feel better. Sucking it up so somebody else will feel better about themselves. Like, I am the good girl that accomplished so much in life, and it's made my father proud. And that's what I find it's the best way I can get love from him, as opposed to, no, my father just loves me, no matter what I do. A lot of people have gotten into that thing, and it could be your mother, doesn't have to be your father. So everything that you are in that paradigm, and that creates the sadness from you, and everybody that you're connected to that's in that paradigm, and you as a representative, would you be willing to let it all go and send that message to everybody else? They do not have to serve other people in such limiting ways. Right, wrong, good, bad, pot, all nine shorts, boys, and beyonds. I truly believe that, as you grow in soul and you grow to where you're connected to the source greater, you can do it through service and helping others, or you can do it in the inner journey to where you grow in soul inside, or you can do both. But, if you're going to serve others, you have to give space for yourself to where your heart is pure. You're doing it because you have love inside of you. Everything that you've done, the idea that my heart is not pure, it has flaws in it, but I'm going to serve selflessly to try to change that wound, to improve that wound. All the sadness, all the shame, all the fear, those are three core emotions that are connected to that, which you destroy everything you aligned and agreed with, and resist and reacted to that holds that in place. Right, wrong, good, bad, pod, all nine, shorts, boys, and beyonds. And everything in your spleen that holds that sadness that I will never get to that place that I just get to love me. That's an impossible thing. That there's not this place where everybody loves me and I don't have that sovereignty in me. And this is a child's perspective. This is not an adult's perspective, but it's almost like, you know, people telling you you're not whole in so many ways. And we're trying to make them happy in order to get them to love us. And the fact is that most of us have parents that are incomplete, so therefore they they're not giving in a complete way because they never learned how. So it's kind of an incomplete system. But everything that holds from that perspective that you've been holding, that I'll never get that, would you be willing to let that go, and everything that you've aligned and agreed with and resisted and reacted to it? Right, wrong, good, bad, pod, all nine, shorts, boys, and beyonds. And everything that there's been abuse there, that you've been hurt, physically, emotionally, uh, and you're holding those points of view, all the trauma with that. I feel it a lot in the right lung, uh, and all the that feels like you just can't breathe that abuse out, that you're stuck with it. All the sadness, all the shame, all the fear holding that in place. Would you be willing to destroy and uncreate all of that totally and utterly? Right, wrong, good, bad, pod, all nine shorts, boys, and beyonds. It's one thing to hold repressed anger or abuse or sadness, shame, fear. It's only natural to have it. We're all incomplete people. But there is a judgment like something's wrong with me because I have that, as opposed to, no, this is the natural process of being human. We have emotional adversity. I mean, I don't know anybody that has gone into this world that hasn't gotten a little shit on them. And, but we still judge ourselves anyway because we have these confrontations, these wounds. We have this stuff on us. All of those judgments you have, that there's some sort of wrongness in you, that you have it, and that you may have to hide it, or it's never going to go away. Think of all of what those judgments are that you've had, like as a child, had as a teenager, ouch, young adult. Um, all the judgments about that, all the projections, all the rejections, separations that hold that in place throughout your entire life. Would you be willing to let all of that go? Right, wrong, good, bad, POC, pod, all nine shorts, boys, and beyonds, and everything that there's judgments about that just creates that heaviness. And you're using it as a kind of a force, a limiting force, and you use another emotion such as anger to react about, or you could be using something like love, like I'm going to be the best caretaker, I'm going to be the best father, I'm going to be the best friend or lover, or I'm going to be the best worker. But you're always working from that super gloppy limiting place. All the dualities with that and everything you aligned and agreed with and resisted and reacted to all of that, will you be willing to destroy and uncreate all of that totally and utterly? Right, wrong, good, bad, pot, all nine shorts, boys, and beyonds. So some of the best things you can do, you know, with those places that you're really afraid of, like this is the stuff I've been hiding from all my life, but it keeps coming back. When you have that negativity show up in your mind or you say the wrong thing, like, where did that come from, you know? Uh, but it's that passive aggressiveness, you know, it's that passiveness that something repressed inside of you keeps coming out. So you sit down, calm down, and you feel that. You go back to that situation that happened maybe earlier that day or happened 5 minutes ago, whatever. And you just say, okay, so everything that I'm holding secret about this, everything that I'm holding in my body, where is it? And you just start to feel that heaviness of it. And you ask questions like, well, when did this originally start? Was it age 2, age 1, age 3? And usually you'll feel something get charged when you get the right age. And you go, well, maybe is it related to my mom, my dad? Usually it's one of those two. You get that. And every time you get a right answer, it seems to get stronger. You know, the negativity. That means you're just basically tuning into it more. And you feel it. And then you can either use a clearing statement that I used, right, wrong, good, bad, pot, all nine shorts, boys, and beyonds, or you take an energy like the love in your heart and you send it down to that place and you give it a loving energy because that's what it needed all along is a loving, kind energy. And you'll see that it starts to change, you know, and you just give it allowance. You know, everybody has this stuff going on. And the more that we give it allowance, curiosity, most importantly, non judgment, and we feel it in our body, we are a big way getting it cleared and done. So I work on this stuff all the time on my personal life, but also with other people. And my name is Bart Sharp, and this is Becoming Quantum Conscious at United Public Radio and UFO Paranormal Radio on 107.7 and 105.3 out of New Orleans and played on Roku, X, YouTube, UPR website, and Facebook and other sites. So we're all out there, and we're really glad that you tuned in today and was with us. You know, if I was going to give everybody a word of advice, it's don't judge yourself. When you make a mistake, just look at yourself and say, "Well, I made a mistake. Isn't that interesting?" Or, "Yeah, I was stupid and insane in that 10 seconds and I did something dumb," and you laugh at yourself and you move on. Everybody does this stuff. I do it all the time. And it's just how it works out there in the world. Uh, so that's my best advice is not to judge yourself and allow yourself to be human. Next week, we're going to have Annie Williams on the show with her new book, Guardians of the Dragon Path. And this is an amazing book. So glad that she's going to be on the show. An amazing person, sound healer, etc. But also, she is a researcher into the sacred sites of Europe and has some really phenomenal discoveries. So just super excited about having her on the show. And we'll see y'all all next week on Becoming Quantum Conscious. And thanks for tuning in tonight. And we'll see you soon. Bye bye.